Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how you can create a trading panel using MQL5 code, and this is how the panel looks like. I'm going to explain everything as usual, step by step, but this is the user interface, and as you can see there are different features and capabilities that are included in this panel. You can place market or pending orders, you can also close orders and positions, and you can adjust volume, stop loss, take profit prices. It also represents reward to risk ratio zones graphically and displays this ratio here inside this edit box. Let me open a few positions, place a few orders to show you how it works. As you can see, buy and sell buttons, because we haven't provided any parameters. This is going to be a buy order to open a long position, and here as a pop-up window appears the information that buy position was opened with this ticket number and this opening price. And we can do the same for sell orders, again ticket number and opening price. And because here we have zero values for stop loss and take profit, obviously our positions don't have stop loss and take profits currently. But let's try this feature as well. So I'm going to put the stop loss price, and as you can see, immediately a horizontal line appeared on the chart. It works the same way for take profit prices, a blue line in this case. And now if I hit the buy button, another buy position was opened, but this time it has stop loss and take profit prices, these values that are provided right here, and the volume is 0.01 lots. You can also try to place a sell order, but as you can see, you get an error message, and this is the error code and a warning to check your inputs, because actually in this particular case the values that you have provided to these edit areas doesn't make sense. You place the stop loss below current market price, which is 1.6044, and the take profit is above. And if you try to do the same, for example, using the standard trading panel of MetaTrader, let me input the same values for stop loss 1.15 and for take profit 1.18. And if I try to open this sell position, it returns the error, invalid stop loss or take profit prices. So our panel has this functionality to detect wrong parameters and to inform you that you have to take care of these parameters. You can also place pending orders. In order to do so, you have to check this checkbox for pending orders and to provide pending price. Let's try to use 1.16 as pending price, which is below current market, and considering these parameters, this will be a buy limit order. Okay, buy limit was placed. Again, all the information is displayed as an alert messages, but you can actually change these alerts to print statements or something else. And again, if I try to sell, obviously an error will be returned. Probably you've noticed that this box here is automatically populated, so the reward to risk ratio is calculated inside our MQL5 code and displayed here. And let me quickly remove the pending orders checkbox, so it's disabled currently. And if I check this one here, show reward to risk ratio graph, you can see that these rectangles, these profit and loss zones, will be displayed on your chart. Of course, you can enable and disable this feature. And if you use a pending price, this time, because the expert advisor, the panel, assumes that you will work with buy limit order in this case, considering the prices that you have provided to these edit boxes. It redraws the profit and loss zones, considering the pending price as the opening price. Okay, and also you have these features here to close orders and positions. As an input variable is provided a Boolean variable which could be set to true or false, and when it is true, it works only for orders and positions that are for this magic number that are placed by our control panel. In this case, I have only one by limit order, but let's open another one, this time manually, and ending, sorry, 1.15. So now we have two orders. The first one, this one here, was placed by our expert advisor, and the second one was placed manually. So because the default value of this parameter is set to true, the input parameter that I just mentioned, which defines if we work only for orders and positions from our expert advisor or for any orders and positions. So in this case, if I hit this button, you can see that the position the order that was placed by our trading panel was closed, but the other one that was placed manually remained intact. And because all of these positions that are currently opened are placed by our trading panel, if I hit these close position buttons, all of them will be closed. Okay, let me just extend the chart area. And this is how the panel works. We are going to reference it a few times when I explain the code. And if we move to the MQL code now, to MetaTrader, as usual, the disclaimer, everything we do here is only for educational and entertainment purposes, and it doesn't represent financial or investment advice or any kind of trading recommendation. And we have to import a few classes. As you can see, we use the trade library to place our orders, to close orders and positions, but the rest of the libraries, all of them, are contained inside the controls folder. So if you go to the include folder and controls, each of these libraries are actually responsible for the graphical implementation on your chart. So we use a dialog, which is used to create the panel, but we use also buttons, edit, labels, and checkboxes. And you can export this information here. For example, if you go to the button folder, you will see the different methods and so on. Now let's move next to our code. I decided to use object-oriented programming because we have some repetitive actions, and in this case it makes sense to use a class named TradePanel UI, and inside this class we want to create an object of the CAP dialog class, which obviously comes from this library. Let me select this and press F1. This will redirect you to the reference page, and if you take a look here, the CAP dialog class is intended to combine the controls with different functions in the group inside the MQL5 program. So generally speaking, this class will take care to wrap inside the trading panel, all the relevant information, which in our case is buttons, checkboxes, labels, edit boxes, and so on. And you can take a look here to the different class methods. We will use create to create the panel. We will destroy it at the initialization. We have to run it in order to start the panel. This method here also will be used, chart event. So I will explain everything when we go through the code. But for the moment, we create this panel object using the CAP dialog class, which is used to create the panel itself. So the next thing, again, because there will be a few buttons, I want to create a specific method for button creation. And as you can see, some of these parameters could be changed. So for the different buttons, we will have different parameters. Probably what you want to see here, again F1, is the button class. You can see here the buttons. We of course change some parameters, make them look red with different background and so on. But the most important thing probably here are these XY axes, XY coordinates, which are actually referencing the upper left corner of the panel. So if we provide a few pixels of the x-axis, it will shift our button or other object to the right a few pixels, and the same way starting from the upper border of the panel. So this is done with the XY coordinates, pixels, and we also have these attributes for width and height. So for our button, if we take as an example this one, we have 5 pixels to the right, the x-axis, 5 pixels to the downside from the upper border of the panel, the width of the button, which is a few hundred pixels, I think 300, and the height, which is another, I don't know how many pixels exactly. But this is what these parameters are intended to do, and we pass them here to the different attributes of this class. You can see that some of these values, like width, height, are coming from the properties here, but others are generally hard-coded. So this is the method that is used to create buttons, and in the end, if you see, we use this add method to add the button to our panel, which makes the two of them inseparable. And we do something very similar for the edit areas. The edit areas are these boxes here. You can see that you can edit this information. And we do the same for the labels. The labels are these text messages, strings that we provide here to explain what the edit boxes are intended to do. Inside the public area, we want to create our buttons objects for buy, sell, close, pending, close positions, and reset button. We do the same for the edit areas, for the labels, for the checkboxes. And probably here the most important part is this method to create the panel. You've seen already this method that is used to create the panel, and this one which runs the panel. But here we give it a name, and we have another XY axis in this particular case of 10 pixels. This time we use the upper left corner of the chart as a reference point, 10 pixels to the right and 10 pixels to the downside. But because we can move it, I have moved this panel now, and it doesn't use currently its default values. However, this is what we do here, and the width of the panel, it is 300 pixels, and the height of the panel 467. And what we do next is actually using the create button function, this one here, to create our buttons. And again, I give them a name. This is 5 and 5 pixels, width and height. This for the buy button, for the sell button, and for all the buttons. And we do exactly the same using the method to create label, to create the pending, the checkboxes, and so on. And we pass all these parameters. By the way, as usual, you can download the entire code from my website, so you can explore everything. I've provided detailed comments, as you can see, so I think everything is understandable. Of course, you can play around with these values to understand what actually each of them really does. And we are also creating the checkboxes and the separator, which is this dashed line, which is only used visually to separate the upper part of the panel with the lower part. So in the end, because we want, of course, to destroy the panel, we have this function which will be called inside the init event handling function. And here we are using the CApp dialog class to create a method which is creating a pointer to our panel. So this is how we actually interact with our panel. It creates a reference to the panel. And now we can, this is the end of the class, we can start with our expert advisor, and let's see how it works in action. So we first want to create a user interface, which is an object of this class, the class that we just created. And we also want another one from the ctrade class, which will be used to place orders and to open positions. Input magic number, and here this variable, boolean variable, which by default is set to true, and this one is used to decide if we want to work only with orders and positions that were placed with our magic number, or for all orders and positions when it is set to false. Okay, and inside the initialization we are setting the magic number, and we call the method to create the panel. So when we start the expert advisor, the panel will be created and it will be destroyed on the initialization. Again, very detailed comments for everything, but here we move probably to the most important part. Let me show you in the MQL5 reference page that the onChart event actually is the function. The function is meant for handling chart changes made by a user or an MQL5 program. So this is when we realize that some event have happened related to our trading panel, and you can see different parameters, but this ID, this is very important, the event ID. Down below you can see the enumeration list of all possible 11 types of events. We are going to use extensively this one, chart event object click, which detects a mouse click on a graphical object belonging to a chart. And here this one, the final one as param, is used to show us actually with which part of the trading panel we're interacting with. So do we hit a button, or we check a checkbox, or we make some changes inside an edit box. And this event handling function, so what we do first, now we call our getPanel method, which creates a pointer. Remember that it's created pointers to our panel. So this is how we actually interact with our panel, and we use this chart event method passing the ID, lparam, sparam, and dparam. This is how we interact with our panel, how we extract information from the panel, and how we are passing information to the panel. And here, actually, this is the first thing that we want to do to see what information is provided inside these edit boxes: lot size, take profit, stop loss, or pending price. And we are extracting this information using the relevant methods, and because it's as a text, we need to convert this data to double type and to store it as a variable: lot size, stop loss, take profit, and pending price. And we also want bid-ask prices because we want to work with orders and positions. This is market information. So what we do first, you see a lot of if-else statements here, but actually the code is developed very easily to be understood. The first thing we want to do, this is how it works. We first type user interface, which is the object of our class, and then we want to identify if certain part of our trading panel does something. For example, in this particular case, we want to check if the checkbox for pending orders is enabled, is checked. And because we have this exclamation mark in the beginning, actually, we want to identify if it is not checked. So this is the checkbox. And let me show you, if I type here something like 1.15 and hit enter, it will be automatically reset to 0. So this is what we do here, but if I check the checkbox and I type 1.15, this value stays intact because obviously we want to use pending orders. And this is what we do. If the checkbox for pending orders is unchecked, we want to reset the value to 0. Let me show you first the utility functions, because this will help you understand actually what we are doing. Really quickly, we want to create a take profit line using a horizontal line object and providing the take profit price with these parameters. And we do the same for the stop loss line. You've seen this already, but let me, for example, press 0 here and 0 here, and you can see that these lines disappear. But if I type 1.15, this line appeared here using the function to create stop loss line. And these are the functions for the horizontal lines. We have also another function which is used to close all the positions. When we press this button, it loops through our currently opened positions, and if we have provided the input for working only with our magic number, it will close only positions that are relevant, that are placed by our trading panel. Otherwise, if the parameter is set to false, it's going to close all the positions currently opened. And we have exactly the same logic, but working with orders in this case. Here, this function is used to reset panel values to default values, so you can see that the default lot size is 0.01. This is how you pass information to the panel using the user interface object and the specific edit areas that you want to amend. So the stop loss will be changed, will be reset to 0, 0, reward to risk, the checkboxes will be unchecked. And this happens when we click this button, reset panel. So for example, now we have all this information in the graphical objects, but if I hit this one, you can see that everything was reset to default values, the checkboxes were unchecked, and so on. Okay, and the last one, the last function is used to draw the reward to risk zones using rectangles. And it takes as parameters the entry price, stop loss and take profit prices, which means that we need to provide stop loss. Let's try with 1.15, 1.18. In this case, I'm not using pending orders, so this will be a market order. It will take current market price, and if I tick this checkbox, you can see that the profit and loss zones were displayed graphically. If I uncheck this show risk to reward graph, they disappear. And this is what this function does. And when you're working with market orders, the entry price will be the bid or the ask price depending on the direction of your order. But when you use pending orders, the pending price will be provided as parameter here to this function. So let's move back to our code. We've been here, so very simple if else statements. If the stop loss is different than 0, we want to create a horizontal line for the stop loss. Otherwise, we want to make sure that this line is deleted, and we do the same for take profit. If it's different than 0, the take profit line will be created calling this function, because now we have something different than 0. But if I remove it, you can see that these lines disappear, they are deleted. Okay, so now let's take care of the reward to risk zones, and I've explained briefly this already, but we want to check if certain conditions are satisfied. And the conditions, obviously, in order to draw reward to risk, you need stop loss price and take profit price. This is what we check here, if these values are different than 0. And the other one is to see if our checkbox, this one, is checked, because if it's not, we don't want to display this information. So this is our first condition here. And the next one is to take a look if we are using pending orders or we are working with market orders. And if the pending price is 0, looks like we are trying to place a market order. So in this particular case, depending on the direction, if the take profit is above the stop loss, looks like we are trying to open a buy position, and we will use the ask price to draw our zones. And if this is false, this is the else statement. If the take profit is lower than the stop loss, probably we are trying to place a short order. This time we are going to use the bid price to draw our reward to risk zones. Let me show you for market orders. If we have stop loss below current market and take profit above current market, and we check this checkbox, it took as a starting point the ask price, because this will be a buy position. Let me open one. Buy opened. And calculated this area and graphically displayed the profit and loss rectangles. And the other case is when we are using actually pending orders, so we have something different than 0 here inside this area. And in order to use pending orders, we can provide pending price, and when I hit enter, you can see that these profit and loss areas were automatically adjusted. This is because this time we are using the pending price, and of course the same stop loss and take profit prices. So this is the first if condition here, but if the else condition is just used to delete the profit and loss zones. Okay, so now we've taken care of the graphical implementation of reward to risk ratio, and let's move to the calculation of the ratio itself. And as you can see here, we have reward to risk ratio displayed. This edit box is not editable, so you can't change the value. It is used only to display the reward to risk. And if I change, for example, some of these parameters, you can see that it was automatically updated. If I remove the checkbox, it was updated again, because now obviously we're trying to work with market orders. Okay, so let's take a look again at the same, it's similar kind of logic, but how to calculate the reward to risk ratio. Again, we need stop loss and take profit price. And if the checkbox for pending orders is unchecked, looks like we're working with market orders. And if the take profit is above ask price and the stop loss is below, well, this is our buy market order. This is how we can identify. We are trying actually to reverse engineer the intention of the trader, because if you provide these parameters, they make sense for buy order, buy. But if we try to sell, we are getting an error, and we are checking different conditions to try to understand what the trader is trying to achieve with the values provided inside the edit boxes. So this is the buy case with these parameters, and once we have this information, we are calculating potential loss and potential profit, and dividing the profit to the loss and rounding this number to the second decimal place. This is our reward to risk ratio, profit divided by loss, and we are actually here passing this information to the edit box. Here, this edit box. Okay, this is what we do here for buy orders, and exactly the same for sell orders. We are calculating the loss distance, the profit distance, this time considering that we want to to use bid prices because we are selling, calculating the ratio and passing this information to the reward to risk edit box, this one here. Okay, so this is how we can calculate this ratio when we are working with market orders. But for example, if we work with pending orders, again we need stop loss and take profit different than 0, and pending price as well different than 0, and the checkbox of the pending price must be checked. So let me show you here. For example, if we use this as a buy limit example, you can see buy limit order was placed, and the reward to risk ratio, again we are trying to identify what kind of position the trader is trying to open, what kind of order it is. And again, if the pending price is higher than the ask price and the take profit is higher than the pending price and the stop loss is below, well, these conditions are representing a buy stop. We used a buy limit here because the pending price is below the ask price and the stop loss is below the pending price and the take profit is above the pending price. So these conditions are representing a buy limit order. This is what we do, and in each case, for each type of order, we are calculating the risk to reward ratio and passing this information. It is reward to risk ratio, and passing this information to this area here. In this particular case, as you can see, because the distance from our opening price to the take profit price is 300 pips, and the distance from our pending price to the stop loss price is 100 pips, well, the reward to risk is equal to 3. And I'm not going to explain for each order type, but you apply the same method to identify if you're trying to work with buy stop, buy limit, sell stop, and sell limit. And I've explained already about market orders. Now, I've shown you this idea that the ID parameter, we're still inside this function. Let me remind you, this onChart event function. So the ID parameter is the event ID, and there are different events. Again, one of them is chart event object click, when a mouse clicks on a graphical object belonging to a chart. And we are trying to take a look if we have this kind of event. So if you click, for example, let me close this order. If I click on the close order button, well, this event will be identified. And the S-param, I've explained this already as well, but it's trying to tell us with which kind of graphical object we are interacting. So if I hit, for example, this checkbox, this will be identified that I'm doing something with the checkbox. Or if I close the positions, the S-param will tell me that I'm closing the positions. Of course, in order to check what you're doing, you want to make check if the S-param is equal to the, in this case, checkgraph.name. So the checkgraph is the checkbox, this one here, and the S-param tells us if we are doing something with this checkbox, enable or disable it. These are, in this particular case, the two possible options. And if we are doing something with our checkbox for the graphical object, for the reward to risk ratio zones display, and this checkbox is unchecked, so we've clicked the checkbox and its current state is not checked. This exclamation mark does this, makes sure that it is currently not checked. Well, in this case, we want to remove, to delete the profit and loss zones. So currently we have it checked, but if we uncheck it, the S-param identifies that we are doing something with this checkbox and its current state is unchecked, so we delete the rectangles that display profit and loss zones. And if I check it, this condition wouldn't be true, so they will be displayed. Okay, next we have the interaction with the buttons, the same name, using the same as param, trying to find out if we're working with the close positions button, close pending orders buttons, or the reset button. And if we are closing positions, if we hit this button, the function close all positions will be called the same way when we press the close orders button. This function for closing all orders will be called, and the same for reset button, which resets default values of our trading panel. Now let's take a look if we are trying actually to open positions to place some orders. And first thing we want to do is for market order. So the easiest way to understand if we are working with market orders is to check if the checkbox for pending orders is not isn't checked, sorry, this one here. And if it isn't checked, and again we are pressing the buy button, well, this time we want to place a buy order using the trade class with the lots, stop loss and take profit prices provided here. Let me place this buy order, and you can see that position was successfully opened. And the ask price comes as the market information. You can see here the alert statements. I told you already that you can, for example, change these alerts to prints if you want to, but for the moment I'll keep it as is. And if your order fails, you're getting the error. So for example, let's try to sell with these parameters because it's impossible. You get the error code and warning message to check the inputs. Okay, and of course, if the position was successfully opened, you get the ticket number and the opening price. Okay, this is again for market orders, and when we press the buy button and when we press the sell button, it does the same. Place a sell order with the volume, price, this time it's the bid price, the stop loss and take profits, the lots, stop loss and take profits are these edit areas here. Okay, and you guessed it correctly. The next thing we want to inspect is if we are working with pending orders. And to work with pending orders, we need to check this checkbox and to provide pending price. So again, we've done this before, considering the values of the pending price, current market price. We can understand what the trader intentions are actually, what he's trying to achieve. So in this case, because the pending price is above the ask price, looks like the trader is trying to place a buy stop order. And if this is the case, again, using the trade class, the order is placed. And I'm not going to explain each of them, but again, we have for buy limit, for sell stop, and for sell limit. And I think this is everything. Probably it's a good idea in the end of this video, when you're familiar already with the trading panel and the code, just to sum up everything really quickly. So we import the trade class to work with orders and positions, the dialog library and the CAP dialog class. This one here is responsible, is intended to combine the controls with different functions. So this is the one that is used to create the panel, and we use different methods to create the panel. In the end, feature them. This one is for button. We add the button to the panel. We do the same for the edit areas, the labels, and here we are creating our objects for the buttons, for again edit areas, labels, checkboxes. This function is probably the most important one. It creates the panel and activates the panel, and it uses XY coordinates starting from the upper left corner of the chart here let me remove this. So by default it will be somewhere here, 10 pixels to the right and 10 pixels to the downside. Actually, let me restart the panel. And by the way, you can see here this parameter, which is used to work only with our orders and positions. Let me set it now to false, which means that it's going to close any kind of orders and positions placed by other expert advisors or manually. Okay, and you can see 10 pixels to the right and 10 pixels to the downside, and the width and the height of the panel, these parameters here. And we are creating our buttons, our labels, and so on. Everything is wrapped inside this method create panel. Okay, and we call the destroy panel method on the initialization. We use the CAP dialog class to create use this method to create pointer to the panel, to reference the panel. Here we are creating the object of our class, trade panel user interface class, and again for the cTrade class, a trade object. This is the parameter that you can see the default value is true. When we work only for our magic number, I've just set it to false, so it will close any kind of orders and positions. I will check this feature in a second, but let me finish with the explanation. Again, on the init, here we are creating the panel. On the init, we destroy the panel and release resources. The most important event handling function creates the pointer to the panel using this method and passing the respective parameters. We can now interact with our panel, which means that we can extract information and pass information to the panel. And the first thing to do is to check the information from the panel, the different edit boxes, lot size, stop loss, take profit, pending price, and here this entire logic, which actually takes care for our trading panel interaction. And in the end, let me just show you that it works with any kind of orders and positions. Let me place a few by our expert advisor, and I'm going to place another one manually. So in this case, because the input parameter, this one, is set to false, it should close all of them, regardless if they were placed by our expert advisor or manually, or by any other expert advisor. And I think this is everything. Of course, I've put a lot of effort here, by the way, so give it a like if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.
You can support my channel with a one-time payment or membership through Buy Me a Coffee. Subscribing, liking, or sharing also helps grow the channel. Thank you for your support, and thanks for watching.